Yeah, I got it. Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, let's continue. Jordan, you had a question for Gyuri, so let's continue there.
Yeah, okay. Do you guys, may I have the permission of the group? I don't know if there's a place we want to go further, but what I'm trying to do from a meta project standpoint is where I want to go next is understanding the underlying connections to some of the other pieces that are moving and kind of the hyper knowledge level and the deeper architectural structure that we need to emerge. So yeah, and is it okay with the group if I kind of take it in that direction a little bit? Okay, so Gyuri, you mentioned OGM, so you know Jerry, do you know Pete Kamensky and these guys?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
great.
Yes.
And are you kind of would you consider your work part of this flotilla with kind of massive and Trove and Factor, and are you connected with any of those?
Yes. I'm connected with them. I'm talking to Vincent. I think what the beauty of Indie Hub is that that it really, if you got your own siloed centralized solution, it could be a sidecar. I actually proposed that to them. I had a long conversation with Pete. And basically, as far as I'm concerned, I told him that much, that okay, you can have all kinds of architectures, all kinds of systems. Okay, go get on with it. They're thinking in terms of Markdown. And I asked him, okay, so what out of all this you really interested in? And he picked the best one because it's the notation, the Treyermark's notation, because that's the meta power. That's the one that actually enables you to inject, basically turn your writing, not just explicate the narrative structure of your things at a human level, because the problem with the semantic web is that we tried it. We were there 8 years ago. We turned one of our papers into a complete propositional trail. One problem with that is not for human consumption. The whole point of human mind is the power of selection in any context, knowing which are the things that are really important, and we communicate at that level. So that's what Treyermark's enables you to do.
Okay, so if there's if there are a lot of people using this, okay, so let's go to this idea of truthful speech, and how in a world of kind of propaganda and spin and all these things, like how do we know what's true so that we can make wise, right decisions to solve complex problems? Yeah. So if we have a lot of people, and so you have the I've been thinking deeply about this ability, like the ability to state a semantic proposition is powerful and dangerous, and it's powerful as a clue that points towards an underlying reality that's non-propositional, and it's dangerous if the proposition becomes an ideology.
Exactly.
Okay.
I couldn't agree more. The whole point is we had an amazing event at the Complexity Weekend, and the arrow wrote beautifully about it. It is really a deep epistemological problem. And in fact, the whole work that we're doing, or not just me, is all about saying, well, actually, that kind of idea that you can know it all and lay it out in perfect thing is really losing sight of complexity and feedbacks, and this sort of and the other thing that is that, okay, everybody, not everybody, but the culture wants certainty, surety, and this culture is unaware of the third maxim of the Delphi. It's not just know thyself, and man is the measure of everything. The third one we've forgotten. Surety leads to ruin.
Yeah.
Okay. The idea that I can control it all, it goes against the grain of reality. You got to flow with it. Okay, it's a kind of spiritual reparenting is needed, and the other thing that is needed, epistemologically speaking, is instead of vying after the objective truth, let people have conversations and discover it.
Yes, yes, yeah, conversations to
In a
discover.
local,
Okay,
it's personal. Knowledge is
It-
personal.
yeah, it's navigating over hundreds
Exactly.
of years, navigating towards.
Yes,
Okay,
and it's
all right.
time binding as well. So
So
that's the, yeah.
okay, so let's go. So let's say that. So just a quick thing on let's call the deepest level of the indieverse. Is there an ability to basically infinitely fractally nest different groups? Okay, so there's no bounds.
You got it. That's
Okay,
and
great.
the
So
beauty of it. The beauty of it. It is based on eventual consistency and local, and it's spreading. So it's it's not like blockchain wanting to have an absolute consensus. That's insanity. Okay, that cannot be done. That consensus should emerge. It really spontaneous order, both in terms of collaboration, because that's the most important thing, bringing people together who can actually together do something.
okay, so I can be so let's say there's 8 billion of us participating in this thing. It might be that I'm part of 16 different groups of all different sizes with different connections and nesting in it, and it doesn't matter. Okay, and so it's not like there's only a couple levels of organization. It's any level of organization, any group.
And it's like the internet. As soon as I discovered, like the other day, I discovered Jessica Kerr, who knows about Nora Bateson's idea of symmetry. And suddenly we've been weaving away here alone. And suddenly we find the other. We can actually join up.
Okay, that's great. And then is there, if you wanted to circle up any group, like let's say we wanted to circle up 300 million people in something like the United States or whatever, you can draw a circle around any size group that wanted to collaborate at kind of any fractal level. Okay,
exactly,
okay.
Exactly. And this is where the hyper knowledge layer comes in, because at that point you really need mechanisms to facilitate that. That's
okay,
beyond
so that's what I was
capacity.
just gonna. Okay, so that's what I was just gonna get to. Okay, so you have this ability to create any number of nested or unnested circles of knowledge, and each of those circles of knowledge is like it's like each one of those could be navigating towards truth and wisdom by learning, and then they can be broadcasting out what they think that they're discovering about whatever it is that they're interested in. Okay, so as each of these infinite number of nodes learns and broadcasts out, let's talk a little bit about that hyper knowledge layer of how do you make sense of what millions of learning nodes are discovering.
Well, the two things. This is why I talked about. This is why we went down Freebase and Wikibase in the first place. That think about it. You may be writing about or thinking about and publishing about and sharing about, or just writing and make it accessible by search. So you actually find those commonalities, and then what you really need to do is if you could identify, here is a group of people dealing with this, there's another, and there are probably thousands of them. What you really need to have is a dedicated hyper knowledge federation engine for the adjacency. It's all about adjacency. Okay, looking at those conversations that happening in a certain domain dynamically, of course, and teasing them out and basically ending up with a kind of synthesis of these things, because they can find the commonalities. They can challenge. Okay, oh yeah, on this specific thing you have that concept, but the most important thing is that at least it should at least identify where there is discussion needed. and the result of the discussion leads to another synthesis, which can hopefully percolate upwards. It's really a great chain of meaning or understanding building up that way. And yeah, that's the vision. And of course, there is the other level which the underlay project trying to do, and they thinking about the same thing. What's happening is that with all machine capabilities, I'm not even talking about machine learning, but even that, pattern recognitions and all that. What we have now, it's like, I'm sure you may not, but I find that recommendation engines, just with the simplest raw NLP processing, can surface things to you that is relevant. And so that surfacing, and the point is that in the Indiverse, I really grateful you actually use the term, because that's the whole point. This is why it's step toward the metaverse wants to make it real. We really got a job to do just in the world of hypermedia. Okay, we don't need the 3D or whatever immersive. We want to be immersing in thoughts and ideas and the intents. Yeah.
I'll be quiet for a second. Stephen, I think you might have to go. So I thank you, Gyuri, for those answers. And I want to create room for anybody that.
No, I don't have to leave yet.
Oh, okay.
I had a quick question, maybe just because I understand that there was some connection with the system, and more than demoing it, kind of using it in some ways around this Stop, Reset, Go day. So, and that's 1st of November, is that right? So in 2 months. I'm just curious, what's just briefly, I guess, between Gyuri and James, a little bit about what that looks like. Thanks.
Maybe I'll lead off, Charles. So what I think the game plan right now is to have some kind of I think the messaging is really important, and Stephen and I and Brad have been talking about this in a separate conference. And Gyuri, what message are we going to put out at that date? It doesn't have to be a system that's super ready, but Gyuri thinks we can have something ready to demonstrate, and could even be like a hackathon, hey Gyuri? I don't know, but
no. I think one thing should be ready, and it is start the ball rolling of forming these little communities which articulate their instead of just creating a website that nobody goes to. Okay. If we have a conversation between and articulate what we want and find others like there is George for, there's so many communities that are already adjacent to. If we empower their ability to actually onboard people and have conversations.
Okay, so Gyuri and I talked about this earlier. His idea is that like to build a prototype that we can test out ourselves first, like our small group, okay? Say different people like Tim with his Kodu project. There's other people with software projects. Just bring them on board, and people like Rob, get them to come on and just participate and try it out and see what it tastes like. Right, and Gyuri thinks he'll have something ready in 2 weeks for that. Right, so all of us can then.
But the most important thing is the personal virality of the question, because in a month's time, if you go within the hub, and then you can suddenly have real conversations with the people you want to have deep conversation, because it's deep conversation is the important thing. So I really so just that level, and this we're not going to beyond just being able to combine note taking, annotations, and articulation. Just these three things together, when they are shared, that should start something interesting. So it's basically in itself. This is why I'm really looking forward to actually doing it, because then everybody works on lots of things. But when there is agreement, where like we have amazing conversations in Telegram. Now, if you could just contextualize that and link those, don't lose those conversations, and distill and link it to existing articulations through annotations. We really should be able to improve our collective ability, and I'm talking about on the number, small scale. But that's where we need to advance first. Yeah.
So with what Gyuri's built so far, we can do this kind of what he just said. We can annotate, like say Brad and Stephen and I had a chat on Zoom the other day, right? We would be able to capture that, let's say, or in Telegram or somewhere else. We could capture all that and then bring it into our Indie Hub, right? But then we can also have individual conversations in Indie Hub. Like say Stephen and Brad and Charles and say everyone here joins Indie Hub in 2 weeks. We can then carry on our conversations there.
No,
right?
Each of you can be their own hub, and the joining is saying, okay, we started conversations.
Yes. So there's those two. We can import conversations from other existing tools, communication tools, or we can just...
this is what I'm doing now. Because HTML is the data exchange format. You can copy paste from anything and turn it into part of your thing, your content, and then you can you can annotate inside. And the most important thing, you could just interpose your comments, suggestions, and connections to other things you have, and that's that.
Have you, Charles and Gyuri, have you guys had a conversation of how the Indieverse that will be generating, hopefully, knowledge moving towards wisdom relates to the idea of a stewarded dynamic knowledge repository that exists in a commons? And have you connected that out at the deeper levels of architecture and governance then to how that commons of knowledge and wisdom is stewarded, and then as it gives rise to ideas that are then actually brought into reality by the network? Have you guys got to that level of architecture and kind of the deeper thinking?
Simple answer, no, not altogether.
Well, yeah. This is the whole thing, that if, and I'm sure that this is exactly the next question, governance and all that stuff, then you start a conversation and articulate the kind of things you need, and then hopefully people with some not too much coding skill will come to you and help you to turn that part or parts of that solution and this is the thing. Any app you develop or solution you develop in the Indieverse with Fission and that kind of stuff is by definition a kind of a holon which can link up with any other holons, that can make use of any other capability. So what you can do, that out of this minimal capability, you can think of adjacent ones, which may give you pathway to governance or whatever you care about. Yeah.
Good. Gyuri, are you contemplating like individually owning the code or source? Are you contemplating that being an open source product?
Absolute open
exists in the
source.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
I go for. I mean, the way I envisage it is when there's a metastable thing, then we work on it, bootstrap it to the next level, and when we reach the next meta level stage, then everything that was before goes open source. I don't want the open source outright, because these are difficult, hard things to move to do it. So what I need is people who are really dedicated and actually committed to that.
Well,
it's not
and
one scale.
yeah, and I think
otherwise.
from a yeah, and there's a difference between, obviously, as you know, like either pure open source and, you know, a project being stewarded that can be contributed to, but is guided in a specific direction towards its destiny, you know. And so so I think some of those hybrid governance things that are emerging. Okay.
Just one quick comment. The whole point is that I want to focus and remain within the kernel space, okay? And anything else can be built on top of it. And I want to make all the capabilities that needed available, so you can start thinking about governance and all that stuff, and more complex things. My main contribution is at this kernel level, and I don't want to go from that. In fact, I would like to find you or people who understand the significance and actually start using, and I want that feedback. I want to maintain that support, the kernel level support. Yes, so that's the way I envisage it. So in fact, what I thought about best thing would be is to find 3 or 4 committed communities who actually understand the value of this and work on, use it, extend it, do their own thing, and feed me back what did we miss, what did we got wrong, can we improve that, and they could actually contribute to the point that let's say, you know, this is the problem, let's work it out together. But the scope of this is really small, you know, because I accept, that's the most important point I didn't say. Every component that is in what I build wants to be and designed to be exchangeable. That's the key, you know. If you build another one, because the interoperability is guaranteed in some sense. So if you don't like my graph visualization, you don't need to use it. This is the whole point in the knowledge management space. I don't think everybody would love to use trigger marks. People will say, that's actually really powerful. Oh, I give it a different skin, differently for people to use it. And I want to remain at this role close to the metal level, because that suits me. But I know that it's not good for everybody. The whole point is that the knowledge is such an intimate thing that people's perceptions and attitudes are different. And something that I like, the other one won't like, you know. They need some other, and I'm hoping to find people actually bring in existing tools like Onagora, talking to Onagora. I want to work with Codex, and I know a couple of tools for thought people who I want it to be interchangeable. I don't, you know, so they gain an access to this new ecosystem. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I apologize, Gyuri. So nice to meet you. Thank you for just the incredible amount of thought and life's work you've put into this. It's amazing. And I'll look forward to continuing the discussion. And Charles, I think it'd be good to, in light of this interoperability discussion that we just had, to then look deeper at the data, information, knowledge, wisdom, solutions commons that wants to emerge alongside of all this, and see how to see how we could potentially structure that. So maybe Charles, we got a follow-up conversation on that. So, okay, Gyuri, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And Stephen, Brad, great to meet you guys.
Thank you for your attention.
Glad you could join.
Yeah, Kian, good to see you. Charles,
Take
thank you.
care.
All right, take care. Bye.
Nice to meet you too.
Charles, just to get back to your question, Charles, about the timeline, what we're going to do.
Sure.
Oh, did you have another point? Yeah.
I just, since I was going to just throw one interjection in another timeline thing that's like leading up to the November 1st, and then I'm going to try to go shortly, but I look forward to hearing more about that. On the 16th of October, I'm pretty sure that's correct, and maybe some of you already know about this. There's a mapping hackathon. It's 24 hours. I don't really have details yet, but it's being organized by Keala Young. Gyuri, did you know about that? Or you know Keala maybe? He's part of Dig Life, and you've seen him around. But anyway, there's a kind of a number of groups coming together around this thing, and I think it could be relevant and it could be useful to maybe plug in some way as a kind of partial lead up to the thing 2 weeks after. So I just wanted to flag that date, and just so you know, it's fair. I don't know how open, but I think it's fairly broad. As
Can
far
you
as
send us some link to find out?
I don't have
about
yet.
it?
I don't have.
Okay,
Just
when
keep
you
the
do,
date,
you do.
keep it
Yes,
in
yes,
mind,
yes.
and
Yeah.
Okay, Gian, over to you.
That sounds good.
Thanks, Charles. Yeah, that sounds good. So the idea then is that Gyuri will have something up in 2 weeks where we can just go in and try it. And so we learn
Yeah.
from participating, right? And really learn what the capabilities are. And just limited to the tools that he's developed so far, because as Gyuri says, this is only 10% of what he's envisioning, right? So there's 90% more that needs to come. But even this 10% will give us a powerful taste of what's capable of. And then I think I think what we want to do then is we want to onboard all those software developers in our close networks to come on board and try it out and see how it works. And then once we've tried it out and we see those capabilities, and maybe Gyuri makes some tweaks out of that, who knows? But then if we're happy with that, then I want to approach Daniel Hornvig, the Earth system scientist at the University of Ontario, to have a discussion with him, because he's trying to develop an app for his downscaled, his urban planetary boundaries. So we want to integrate what Daniel has right now to give the framework for this whole thing, so that we can try it out and see what it looks like. So we'd like to then, once we've tried it out and we're happy with it and it looks like it's, in good form for demo, then we'd like to, as a group, invite Daniel to have a conversation with us and show him our capabilities. And then we can then have a conversation to see how that urban planetary boundary framework can fit in with what Gyuri's doing, with the Indiverse. And then, so that might happen in beginning of October. And then that might give us something that we can do that can be ready for some kind of demo at COP26. But I think that what we want to do is, if we try these things out and then at COP26, if we feel comfortable enough, we just invite anybody who wants to join us to come into the Indiverse, the prototype Indiverse that we built, and then try it out. And so that's kind of a onboarding and education process.
Can I just say that before we get there, I think, and let's hope it works out, that you and I, everybody is connected to like-minded organizations. So you really need to just contact them personally, because I really believe that it has this personal viral thing, that all you need to do is get somebody from that network. I mean, I'm talking to Infinity and others who are interested, and they just say, okay, why let's have it, because that's empowering. And I think I thought that we discussed this before, but I think what we need is, as you started the whole core, we really want to empower not only the connection but the collaboration of change makers.
Yeah, exactly.
That networks need to be augmented first, if you like.
Yes, Charles, the concept we had for this COP26 is a superorganism, a social superorganism for change, for system change. So we're building this superorganism and we're trying to bring all these different change actors together to form the organs of the superorganism. So that's kind of the metaphor, that we're trying
I mean, this isn't just a metaphor. The whole, I spent a lot of time precisely to pick the right technology, web technologies, that I can play this Holonic game with. So that's the key. This is, the browser is a broken wheel. That's what Alan Kay calls it, compared to what Engelbart did, because it should have had just a tiny kernel and let people do what they want. Instead, they ended up with zillions of a huge monolith, which moves like the Titanic, and it will sink like the Titanic because it's just too complex. I mean, I don't know whether you know, Google declared they're going to abandon Chrome because they got 64,000 issues, and the rate at which the issues come in, they cannot keep up. It will just diverge. But the good news is that they did added so much capability. 10% of the capability in the browser is sufficient to create something new. I mean, I don't know anybody knows this, the interplanetary file system is a miracle because this is on top of the existing broken architecture, a protocol, creates an alternative path, a new way of doing things. And on top of that, we build this constellation, on the fishing constellation, this intentional constellation. Sorry, I just...
There's only 10 minutes left in the conversation. Does anybody else want to chime in? Charles, do you want to say something?
In quickly, and then I'm going to have to duck out. But I think that I'm super excited, and yet it's not sort of yet neat and tidy in terms of the invitation, the description, I think getting going in the direction of onboarding and education and being able to really invite more broadly. Then simplify, then streamline the articulation. This is really going to be the key, sort of ASAP, like yesterday. So doing great, guys. But it's still a bit scattered. I have to be honest. So keep it coming and keep refining it and making it more simple. In terms of again, how to I think that Sandy, your question about show the graph, get that going. I would say top priority, Gyuri. Really.
Yes. I know. But just one comment.
Sorry, I gotta go, so I can't listen right now anymore.
Okay.
But seriously, I want to leave you with that offering from my heart. That's it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Charles, hold on 1 second. Your point about wisdom rather than just intelligence is extremely important.
Yeah,
I'd like to talk to you about that because I've been doing work in wisdom circles for years, and and I teach courses about wisdom. So let's talk about that because that's a really key point.
I'll put so my source for that is the great Tom Atlee. I'll just put his name and his
I know all about Tom's work also.
Yeah, so I'm pretty connected with Tom, but so the definition of wisdom I got, straight from him and from the Wise Democracy Project. Until soon, guys.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Stephen and Brad, you guys haven't said too much. Do you want to chime in before the clock runs out?
Sure, we got 4.5 minutes. Yeah, what comes to mind right away is just how do we actually present something like this in a way that it resonates with a broader audience, if that is the intent. And for something like that, I would think you would want to bring in some UX designers or some people who could do the translating of the intention and the architecture into something that is actually something that you could bring to a boardroom meeting and be able to communicate in 5 minutes what the intention and the direction of the project is.
That's a good observation, Stephen.
I think we've nudged into this realm of wisdom, and Stephen asked the question in the chat, and this is a concern for us as resilience focused. What can go wrong? How can this be weaponized? And I think that needs to be factored in. So Jordan's question about seeking wisdom, that's the opposite side. How do you enfold wisdom into this as a non-negotiable? It's got to be part of the DNA of this, because the opposite is that wisdom is not in this, and then it gets weaponized, and then it gets used for fomenting war and dissent. So all the things that we've talked about in positive terms of change making, well, there are change makers who don't have the world's benefit in mind, right? And so I think it has to be foundational in how we do this. which is the core of all of the Web 3.0 stuff that we're talking about, right? And so far, that's the thing that makes me nervous the most about this, is what I'm picking up on, and it's I'm kind of holding on by my fingernails because there's so much tech and there's so many layers, and I'm so fresh to all of this world. But what I'm picking up does have that element of it's pretty scary to me, because in the wrong hands, this powerful tool could be severely corrupted and be a huge danger too.
We need to have a meeting about that in and of itself, just like how it could be weaponized, and let's really explore that. And
That's the progress traps. Those are the progress traps.
That's correct. So
Totally.
we need to have a meeting. So do you have the meeting before you start working on it, or let Gyuri start working on it and have that meeting afterwards?
I think Gyuri has to do what he has to do. We can't really slow him down.
I would like a discussion, because this is something that I've been struggling with. So if somebody is willing to enter into a dialogue, I would welcome that, because this is one of the part of why it is making so slow, because exactly, code is slow in the sense that this is, the beginning is a delicate time. You really have these questions. There's so many, and I've been struggling with this. So if you're willing to have a conversation about it, are really available, because this is something that is an active concern of mine.
Yeah.
And just one other answer about the UI and everything, I really want to. That's the next thing that I will do, is do the absolute. I reached out for the maximum possible. Now I'm reaching down for the simplest possible, which does not need, no need for a board meeting, no need to presentation. It's like color notes on Android. Have you used color notes or equivalent on Android? Anyhow, Android had a color, all it did, give you a note that you could type anything, you can color them and sort them by text. That's all it did. It had 100 million downloads.